Y'all aren't going to want to hear this, but the EV stock to own right now, right here, is Ford. That's right, everybody. Ford's the EV stock to own right now, and it's not even close. I'm going to give you some reasons as to why. But first, welcome to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. The stock market is crazy and chaotic, and I made it my mission to help you guys own it. This has just been a topic of discussion that nobody wants to hear that Ford's going to actually be a contender here. But I would argue that Ford's going to be a rival to Tesla, and I don't even think it's going to be close. A lot of the other EV companies, or even older companies, the ICE companies that are going to be making EVs, they will compete. But I think Ford has the upper hand here, and there's a couple of reasons as to why. Let's just go back and look at the history of Ford, for example. If you look at the Tucker 48, but the Tucker 48 was a very interesting time in American history of the automobile. So Preston Tucker actually decided he was going to make a car company, and it was a revolutionary car. It had seat belts, it had fuel injection, it had breakaway body panels when you got into an accident. It actually had headlights that turned when you turned the steering wheel. Very interesting stuff, way ahead of its time. Ford, GM, the big three, they crushed it. And then they stole all that technology. Sound familiar? This is also the company that gave Ferrari the middle finger for not closing the deal with them at the last minute. And not only did they just give them the middle finger, okay, they decided that they were just going to go in and crush them in a 24 hours at Le Mans, a race that they had really had no business being in. 1, 2, 3 came in first, second, and third place to crush Ferrari. They spent $10 million in 1960. That's $93 million in today's money just to give Ferrari the middle finger. Not only that, but Ford also decided not to get bailed out by the government when everybody else did in 2008. They said, nah, fam, we're good. We don't need your money. We're going to survive just fine. And survive they did. Setting all of that aside, if you look at the amount of vehicles that they have sold to the market, as far as electric vehicles are concerned, that also doesn't make sense to their valuation. You look at Lucid, for example, that has the same valuation as Ford and have sold as many cars as I have fingers and toes. And Rivian's the same example. Rivian is 1.5 times the market cap of Ford is, and they sold 15 trucks, and they're not even going to have the capacity to sell anywhere close to what Ford can at this point. The Ford Mach-E is another perfect example of how Ford was able to leverage their own branding to sell an electric vehicle. They used the Mustang brand to sell an EV, and it actually crushed the Model 3 in the first quarter of this year. Taking that onto account, and I can't for the life of me figure out why this stock is still down here where it is. And I know that it might sound crazy to say that it's down here after it's doubled over the last year in price, but you look at the forward PE of this thing, and it's sitting at a multiple of just 10. That's it, 10. When you look at the S&P 500 and the Ford PE there is around 24, it doesn't make sense for Ford to be down here, especially if you're comparing it to some of the other EV companies that play that have barely sold any vehicles at all. Lastly, if we just look at the chart, it's about ready to go into breakout mode. All right, so looking at Ford on the daily chart, you can see that this is forming a bull flag pattern. So let's just draw this out. We take a trend line here and we can draw this, which represents the flagpole of a bull flag pattern. It's not exact, but you know what I'm saying. Nothing ever goes straight up. And this is kind of how you would draw this. Let's just move this down just a little bit more to represent the flagpole of our bull flag pattern. And now we can come in and start drawing the flag here. So this would be that pendant where you're starting to see higher lows, with the exception of this spike that happened a few days ago when Omicron reared its ugly head. But it kind of came right back to the levels where it was previously. And then we start to draw the other side of this pennant and start to realize that this is starting to look pretty bullish. So as this consolidates and we start to get into maybe the $20 range and kind of stay there, there's a potential breakout here that could be looming on Ford. And this is why I think that this is super, super bullish. And we can look at a similar example if we're going to compare apples to apples in a sense. We can look at something like Tesla that had a similar move. We can see this bull flag pattern as well forming here too. So we can draw this here, and then we can mark this bull flag here, and then we saw the breakout. We saw it happen, and then it broke out and it actually started to create this wedge, and we saw breakout after breakout on Tesla as well. But you get the picture here. I think Ford is looking quite bullish here on the chart. And for all the other reasons that I explained, I think that Ford is certainly the one to own here. Look, the fact of the matter is that Ford is coming in and taking over the industry by storm. Yet again, the company's been around for 120 years, and it's not by accident. You look at the F-150, for example, a truck that's been the number one selling pickup truck for 45 years straight, and now they're electrifying it, already with 200,000 pre-orders, and they plan on selling 600,000 EVs by next year. This is not going away, and this is actually something that I think could seriously rival Tesla. I don't think that it's going to even be a question. I know that Tesla is going to be the big market leader when it comes to the EV space, but Ford has a very compelling plan that I think could very much rival the company. The bottom line here is, though, I really want to just hear from you guys. Am I crazy? Am I crazy for thinking that Ford is undervalued? I mean, and why are people ignoring this? Is it because they're still associating themselves with ICE vehicles and they're not just solely an EV company? I mean, that kind of would make sense, because if we look at Lucid and Rivian and Tesla, they're just solely focused on EVs and not worried about ICE vehicles. But I think the fact of the matter is that people aren't ready. Not everybody's ready to buy an electric vehicle. And I think that they are in the perfect spot where they can still sell ICE vehicles. And they're going to be able to sell these EVs for a higher profit margin, just like Tesla and Lucid and some of these other ones. People are going to pay for these EVs, no problem. I don't think that's going to be an issue. So Ford's going to compete, in my opinion. But if you don't think so, let me know in the comments below. I know this is probably a pretty unpopular opinion. I just had to say it because it's what was on my mind. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. And guys, if you're not subscribed already and want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, of course, and hit that thumbs up if you like today's content. And that's going to do it for me, guys. As always, I will see you all before the bell. And B Smith is out.